How old were you when you learned to speak Spanish?
So growing up, I did with my grandmother. I did learn Spanish, but then
So
when
your grandmother speaks Spanish?
Yeah, she spoke Spanish. So, but I lost that when we moved up here to Houston. So my mom, she's bilingual too, but you'll notice that when the family is bilingual, English is only spoken. It is. At least that's the way it is with us Hispanics. And so I lost it. And then I got, by trade, I'm a first class machinist. I worked a lot with a lot of Hispanics in my 20s, so I started learning Spanish.
Okay.
Conversational Spanish. When I got into the formation, I knew that I was going to need to learn more formal Spanish, which I started taking my own classes on the side.
So you said, okay, I'm a deacon.
If I become a deacon, I know they're going to put me in Spanish ministry.
Yes.
I need to be ready. And so, and I mean, to this day, I'm still learning. I really am. I mean, just past weekend, I preached at the Spanish Mass, and I did it all from memory, which is good.
That's awesome.
Like if I'm speaking English, and because a lot of it is just getting past your own pride. I get your embarrassment. Embarrassment is just another level, another element of pride.
It's tougher when you're older too.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, my parents are from the Philippines, and they speak Filipino, and I'm just like you. Growing up, it was all English, like you said. It's just English at home. Yeah. And then later on, I was lucky enough to learn it, but it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult to pick it up, but it's so advantageous being able to speak another language.
Well, for me, because I want to be able to serve our Spanish speaking parishioners, and so that's why I think that's one of the main reasons why I went when I preached. I had my notes, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that, because especially recently during these hard times, I've been walking closely with many Spanish speaking people in our community, and so I'm like, Ray, you're worrying yourself about prideful things. And people have more important matters to deal with, Go up there and just talk with him. And that's what I just did this past Sunday. I just when I was up there in the sanctuary, I just talked with him. So, yeah.
Did you ever have any experiences when you didn't know how to speak Spanish? People come up to you and try to
all the time.
How does that feel?
I mean, I wasn't. I just felt bad. I wasn't embarrassed, but I just felt bad. I've always felt bad that I couldn't communicate with him. Because that's what I felt bad for. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't.
Did your grandmother ever get on your case for not learning how to speak Spanish?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I said I knew it with her. I knew it growing up. I just lost it. I had lost it, and so. But yeah, I nowadays I read things. I'm always reading anything Spanish. I'll start to read because it's just practice.
Does your wife speak Spanish?
Very well. Yeah, I know.
Okay. She comes from a Spanish-speaking family?
See, so the way it works in our generation, if you're bilingual, it's because your parents only speak Spanish and you learn English at school and being around, right? I'm telling you, that's the way it is. And that's what my wife is. That's why she's bilingual. Because if your parents are bilingual, you're only speaking English. That's just the way it is. So,
that's the way it is with our kids.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm almost there to where I feel like I'll be able to teach my younger three at least. And I'll start teaching my adult children, but I do want my younger kids to learn.
It's a lot of effort teaching your kids when you live in a bilingual household. I remember meeting somebody at Epiphany once. Every single thing she said to her kids, she said it both in English and in Spanish.
Yeah.
And looking at her, I'm like, that's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Having to say every single word, every sentence.
Yeah.
In both languages. So trying to, make your kids bilingual when at school it's all English. So
I would think it would be best just for her to talk to them in Spanish because they're going to learn English. They're going to learn the English no matter what.
So that's your recommendation to.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. Speak to them in Spanish. They'll learn the English in school. All right.
I wonder what would happen if I went. My son's 16, so if I go home and just only speak to him in Filipino, I don't know.
I really started doing that with my kids in a way, kind of like the bilingual you're talking about, but just an identification of things, not necessarily sentences, but just what this is.
Just nouns.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So
just like kind of just sliding it in there.
Just sliding it in there before I just. completely transitioned to Spanish to help my own cause, right? Just to help myself too.
True. Yeah. The more you use it, the better you get at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you develop accents, and I'm always, I know I have friends who speak both, who grow up speaking both, but they have an accent, and I mean, sometimes it matters.
Your older kids, the first batch of kids, do they speak any?
They understand Spanish.
They understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you've got 2 batches of kids.
Yeah.
Okay. How different is the first batch that you raised? Like, because your son, he was
exactly.
a 90s kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this batch right now, you said 8 years old?
Yeah, because you're going from Generation Y to Generation Z.
Yes.
That's what it is. And so, like, I just, one of the things with these Generation Z kids eating the detergents and everything, and our older kids get so mad. They're like, okay, I know we're millennials, and I know we're entitled and we're lazy, but we're not stupid, okay? And I hate them I hate them giving that crediting it to us. But it's not us. We don't do that kind of stuff.
Because I mean, it's very different. Your first batch of kids, you didn't have all the cell phones.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of things.
But this batch, I mean, the kids are growing up with the cell phones.
They're exactly right. And so, I think my older kids are always quick to tell us how we've improved in our parenting skills, and I'm like, well, I would think naturally that should happen. I mean, we're more patient now. And you're like, oh, my gosh. They're always like, oh, if we would have said that to you, we would have got the slap across the face. We would have never got to sit down and talking. They always do cracks like that. They're like, man, God, we were just born too early, And I'm like, well, yeah, it's because I was a child having children with you guys, and we didn't have time.
You were in your early 20s when you had your son.
Yeah.
I mean, you weren't crazy young, but you were still young.
Yeah. And I was at that time because, I, again, wanting to give them a life I didn't have.
Of course.
And so I was working. I always had 2 jobs, always, sometimes 3 jobs.
Really?
Yeah. Just to give, give them that life that I didn't have, and just being the provider, right? Just I'm there for the provider part. So, yeah. And sometimes when we focus too much on one aspect of our role, no matter what it is, we kind of lose a little bit of the other. And so, and that happened with me, especially with my older son. I'm always working. Always working, trying to give him, never being there to have those talks. I would have the talks with them, but I don't know. And maybe it's maybe me, Rudy, but now being a father now to my younger 3, it's kind of like it's highlighting my faults, as a father to my older 3, right? And going back to what I mentioned earlier in the interview, as far as, and they're like, Dad, my older kids are like, what are you talking about? We don't remember that, but I do. As parents, we remember
those things stick with you.
They stick with you, yeah. And so
what is like the one major thing that you'd say was very different with your first batch and your second batch of kids?
Well, for example, with my boys, we're men don't cry, doing that, that's the biggest one, obvious. Which I accept that with my younger boys, right? So. That's one of the things. And just, I guess, be more understanding, be more opening to what they think, their thoughts, compared to I'm the parent, you're the child, you do what I say.
Yeah, because that's the way we were raised.
That's the way we were raised.
We were raised, you follow.
Exactly.
You don't question anything at all. You don't have to know why.
Exactly. So these younger kids, they want to know why.
Yep.
And me and my wife will sit there and we'll discuss with them. And that's when the older kids are like, man, if we would have said why. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
What is your biggest regret with the first batch compared,
With the first kids, it's not really being there. I always said that I was there for their important things. But not being there for the everyday things. And simply because I was always working, trying to provide. Right. And that happened when, I'd be working 3 jobs, and then I'd come home, and then we'd go to a movie, and I'd probably be sleeping in the movie. Right. And then that when my wife had brought that to my attention once, we got less jobs. I got less jobs. But we started, and that's how the soccer developed too. We would go on picnics because picnic is a lot cheaper than a movie, and started having that really quality time with them, right? So not meaning, again, I'm just learning how to be a dad, right? I looked at the what do you call that? I guess the physical part, the material part of being providing, and not being there really for them for the everyday things.
Well, because that's the way our parents were. Our parents were, this is how we show our love, by providing for you.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. This is how we showed our love, and that's what I was trying to do. And so, but no, these kids nowadays, they want that too. Don't get me wrong. They want the material, but yeah, being there for them, being always there for them, trying to be for every practice and stuff like that.
Is there a lot of pressure in any way being a deacon now as a father? Like, well, you're a deacon, you have to act this way now as a father, or has it changed the way you parent or the way you think about things?
I think that came. It should, and I know it's conscious, right, on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, when I had my younger three, I think already being so involved in in parish life, being involved in my faith, made me a better father. Right, I think the diaconate just confirms that. Yeah, because again, like my older kids were saying, "Man, you're so much more patient," than I was then. And that wisdom that comes with age, but most of that came with just being more involved in my faith.